Imagine one strip of water 33 kilometers wide at its narrowest point, and it closes for just 7 days. 7 days. In that time, oil prices would double. Grocery shelves in Tokyo would start going empty. Factories in South Korea would begin shutting down. And you'd feel it at your gas pump, your heating bill, your electricity cost, wherever you are in the world. No bombs. No war. Just closed. That's the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, on both sides of it, there are missiles locked on, warships circling, and radar systems from 5 different countries tracking every single vessel that moves through. Most people have never heard of it. Almost nobody knows what it actually looks like. That's what we're fixing today. Here are the numbers, and they're almost hard to believe. Every 24 hours, approximately 20 million barrels of oil pass through the Strait of Hormuz. That's roughly 21% of all the oil the entire planet consumes every single day, squeezed through shipping lanes that are only about 3 kilometers wide in each direction. 3 kilometers. You could jog across it in 15 minutes. And it's not just oil. About 1/5 of the world's entire supply of liquefied natural gas moves through here too, most of it from Qatar and the UAE, bound for power grids in Asia and Europe. So when people call the Strait of Hormuz a choke point, that's not a metaphor. It is literally the throat of the global energy system. Block it, and the world stops being able to breathe. Japan gets roughly 80% of its oil from the Middle East, almost all of it through this strait. China, South Korea, India, these trillion-dollar economies run on those 3-kilometer lanes staying open. Every single morning. Now here's what makes it terrifying. The military reality. The strait sits between Iran to the north and Oman to the south, at the mouth of the Persian Gulf. Ships don't wander through freely, they follow a strict traffic separation scheme, like a highway in the sea. 1 lane in, 1 lane out, with a buffer zone between them. And those lanes are so narrow that the largest oil tankers on Earth, ships longer than the Eiffel Tower is tall, carrying 2 million barrels of crude oil in a single load, have almost no room to maneuver. They follow the same predictable routes every single time. Military planners love predictable routes. Iran figured this out decades ago. They don't need to match the United States ship for ship. They don't need to win a war. They just need to be able to threaten this corridor, and threatening it they have. Along the northern coastline, Iran operates swarms of fast attack craft. Small, low-profile speedboats designed for one purpose, circling a massive supertanker the way a pack of wolves circles prey. Behind those boats are coastal missile systems with ranges exceeding 100 kilometers, which means most of the strait sits within reach at all times. On the other side, Oman's Muzandam Peninsula juts into the water like a fist of rock, and from the peak of a mountain more than 2,000 meters above sea level, Omani radar stations track every vessel moving through the channel below. Meanwhile, the U.S. Fifth Fleet operates out of Bahrain. American destroyers equipped with the Aegis radar system scan hundreds of miles of airspace for incoming cruise missiles and drones. So at any given moment, the radars of multiple world powers are all locked onto the same 3-kilometer lane simultaneously. There have been moments when American warships and Iranian patrol boats came close enough that sailors on both sides could see each other's faces through binoculars. In a space only 20 miles wide, that's not a close call. That's a lit match in a room full of gas. By early 2026, it had stopped being theoretical. Stranded vessels. Cancelled war risk insurance. Active threats from Tehran. Satellite imagery showing explosions at the Iranian naval port in Bandar Abbas. Hormuz had become a live wire. But here's the part that almost no one ever talks about. Look down at the ground on Hormuz Island, and the earth is the color of blood. Look down at the ground on Hormuz Island, and the earth is the color of blood. Not as a metaphor. The soil here is so saturated with iron oxide, a mineral concentration so intense that it turns a deep, vivid crimson. The waves don't just lap against the shore. They turn rust red where they meet the sand, like the island is slowly bleeding into the sea. Locals actually use this red earth as a spice in their cooking. They call it galak. You can literally eat the ground on Hormuz Island. It's probably the only place on Earth that's true. But the red beach is just the beginning. Walk inland, and the ground starts shifting colors completely. Red. Then orange. Then yellow. Then purple. Then streaks of white cutting through it all. This is Rainbow Valley, a natural phenomenon where more than 70 different minerals have layered themselves across the hills over millions of years. Hormuz is a volcanic island, and the pressure beneath the Earth's crust spent millions of years pushing different mineral layers up through the surface. Sulfur creates the yellow. Iron oxide creates the red. Salt deposits create the white. And here's what makes it even stranger: every storm slightly rearranges the pattern. The landscape you're looking at today is different from what it looked like a decade ago. Different from what it'll look like a decade from now. It's a living painting being redrawn in real time by the weather. Walk to the shore on the other side, and you hit the silver beach, black and gray sand packed with fragments of mica and silica, ground down over millions of years. When sunlight hits it, the whole beach erupts and sparkle, like someone scattered millions of tiny mirrors across the ground. Walk barefoot on it and you leave with feet dusted in natural glitter that takes days to fully wash off. And then there's what's underneath all of it. Beneath Hormuz Island, there is a salt cave. Locals call it the Salt Goddess Cave, and walking into it feels like stepping inside a breathing crystal. The walls are white and amber, catching light and throwing it back in soft golds and pinks and grays. Stalactites and stalagmites made entirely of pure salt crystals hang from the ceiling like chandeliers in a cathedral that nobody designed. The silence inside is total. Salt is one of the best sound absorbers in nature. Inside the goddess cave, every echo disappears. All you can hear is your own heartbeat. The air is dense with negative ions from the salt concentration, which genuinely helps people with respiratory problems. It functions as a natural healing spa, carved into the heart of a volcanic island, sitting directly beneath one of the most militarized waterways on the entire planet. That contrast alone is almost impossible to hold in your head at once. Cross to the largest island in the Persian Gulf and you land on Keshem, 130 kilometers long, the first UNESCO global geopark in the Middle East, sitting so close to the main shipping lanes that you can watch supertankers drift past from the shore like slow-moving skyscrapers. Walk into Chaku Canyon and the island splits open around you. Supertankers drift past from the shore like slow-moving skyscrapers. Walk into Chaku Canyon and the island splits open around you. People were surviving in this hidden crack in the earth long before anyone thought about oil. Then there's Stars Valley. Local legend says a star fell from the sky and smashed into the island, throwing pillars of rock in every direction. Geologists say it's millions of years of wind and rain erosion. Standing among the twisted arches and jagged spires while the wind howls through the cracks and creates sounds like whispering voices, the star story feels more convincing. And deep underground, the Namakdan Salt Cave stretches for more than 6 kilometers, making it the longest salt cave on the planet. The walls are marbled in layers of red, purple, and white. Salt icicles hang from the ceiling. Underground salt rivers freeze mid-flow into something that looks like white waterfalls suspended in time. While supertankers carry the world's energy through the strait above, this cave sits in total silence. Completely indifferent. On the Omani side, the Muzandam Peninsula is something else entirely. The mountains here drop directly into the sea, creating narrow inlets so dramatic, so deep and still, that people call this place the Norway of Arabia. From a boat moving through them, cliffs rise above you in layers of pale limestone, each layer a different geological era, towering over water that shifts from deep blue to bright turquoise near the shallows. Hidden inside one of these inlets is the village of Kumser. There are no roads into it. No bridges. You can only reach it by boat or helicopter. The surrounding cliffs are too steep and too rugged for any road ever built. And because of that isolation, Kumser preserved something extraordinary: its own language. Kumseri is a blend of at least 10 different languages: Persian, Arabic, Portuguese, and older regional dialects from centuries of sailors and traders who stopped here and left pieces of their speech behind. It exists nowhere else on Earth. Kumsari is a blend of at least 10 different languages: Persian, Arabic, Portuguese, and older regional dialects from centuries of sailors and traders who stopped here and left pieces of their speech behind. It exists nowhere else on Earth. Every summer, when the heat trapped between the cliffs becomes unbearable, the entire village packs up and migrates by boat to the nearest city to harvest dates and escape the furnace. Every autumn, they all come back together, an entire community following the same ancient rhythm their ancestors followed for 700 years. And from their shoreline, they can watch oil tankers worth hundreds of millions of dollars drift through the strait like slow ghosts. There's also a tiny island in these waters called Telegraph Island. In 1864, the British Empire built a telegraph station here to connect London to India. It was the internet cable of the 19th century, a technological marvel. But for the soldiers stationed on it, it was pure psychological torture. Extreme heat. Total isolation. Nothing to do. No escape. The men were going mad from boredom and sun. The phrase "going round the bend," meaning losing your mind, is said to have come directly from this island, which sat tucked around the bend of the fjords, out of sight of everything. The station lasted about 5 years before they abandoned it. Today, the ruins sit on a rock above coral reefs full of parrotfish and stingrays. The empire crumbled. The fish stayed. Here's the thing that history keeps proving, century after century. The Portuguese understood the power of this place 500 years before any modern navy did. They seized the island and built a fortress at the water's edge using the red earth and coral stone they found there. From those walls, they could see every ship that needed to enter the Persian Gulf. They could tax it, stop it, sink it. That fort still stands today, at the edge of the island, while slowly losing the argument with time and sea air. Bronze cannons, rusted brown by centuries of salt, still face outward toward the strait. The empire is gone. The strait is still being contested. It doesn't matter what century it is. It doesn't matter what the technology looks like. The same basic reality keeps reasserting itself: control this 33-kilometer gap, and you have leverage over the world. The Portuguese understood it. The British understood it. The Americans understand it. Iran understands it better than anyone because Iran is right there, on the northern shore, watching every tanker pass from their own backyard. And between all of that, between the missiles and the radar and the warships and the navies, there is red sand that bleeds into the sea. There are salt caves that glow like crystal chandeliers underground. There are fjords where dolphins swim alongside wooden fishing boats. There are ancient villages where people speak languages that exist nowhere else on Earth. There are canyons where you can touch both walls at once and feel a million years of erosion under your fingertips. There are valleys that paint themselves in 70 different colors and repaint every time it rains. The Strait of Hormuz is not just a pressure point on a geopolitical map. It is one of the strangest, most beautiful, most contested, and most consequential places on the face of this planet, and most people go their entire lives without knowing it exists.
If this is the kind of place that makes you realize how much of the world you still don't know about, hit subscribe. Because there are dozens more places exactly like this. Places hiding in plain sight, sitting at the intersection of impossible beauty and world-altering stakes. Drop a comment below. What surprised you most? The geology, the military reality, or that village with its own language? I read every single one.